Alright, so here we are. Theoreticus Heresy episode 29. I have 14 left to go. I can't wait because I've heard too many people talk about what Perturaba is going to do with the Men of Iron. I hope I get an inkling of what's going to happen in the next two episodes because I'm watching episode 29 and 30 today. All that being said, this is still a fun series, even though I disagree with some of the choices that were made and the way that certain things were presented. This is still a fun series. In any case, here we go.
The astropaths of the Lunar Wolves Legion received word of the order to return to Terra, and of the full extent of Rogel Dawn's betrayal. Horus Lupercal sank to his knees upon learning such news. His brother, Jagatai Khan, whom he had cast aside as a traitor, was right all along. The Primarch vowed that he would atone for this failure, and vowed to never again fail in his duties. The first captain of the Lunar Wolves, Ezekiel Abaddon, inquired if they should set course for Terra as requested by Perturaba, or if they were to finish tracking down the remnants of the White Scar's fleet. Horus gave the order to return to the throne world of the Imperium. They could never atone for what they did to Jagoras, but they could redeem themselves by serving the Emperor and defending the Imperial Palace. Horus ordered them to make way for Holy Terra.
Okay, Horus is going to be on
Terra.
On
Mars, the seat of power for the Mechanicum, Fabricator General Kelbor Hal received word from several of his Forge Worlds. The Legio Astartes and the Imperium at large were in the midst of a civil war. Traitors and loyalists alike were battling within Mechanicum territory, and both sides requested for the servants of the Machine God to resupply and repair their ships exclusively, a task that the Mechanicum were reluctant to do.
Can't blame them.
The leader of the rebellion, Rogel Dawn, had made Mechanicum an offer. In exchange for providing them a staging ground within the Sol system for when Dawn's forces made their final push towards Terra, Rogel Dawn would allow the Mechanicum to retain their sovereignty as a sister empire in the new order to come.
Okay.
Kelbor Hal was admittedly tempted, but in the end declined this offer. This was a war concerning the Imperium and the Golden Throne of Terra. Kelbor Hal made a decree that all of the Forge Worlds of the Mechanicum Empire would follow under penalty of servitude in perpetuus. The Mechanicum would remain neutral in this war.
I like this.
Unless the very Machine God itself declared otherwise.
I like this.
The news angered Rogel Dawn, for they were left no choice but to attack Terra itself as soon as possible.
Yep.
Without the Mechanicum and the resources its Forge Worlds provided, they would run low on fuel, ships, and ammunition. Time was beginning to run out, becoming a luxury they could not afford. While they had the support of a large portion of the Imperial Army and Imperial Navy to support them for the upcoming battle, the Loyalists still had a sizable amount of troops at their disposal. As soon as the Space Wolves fleet returned to the Istvan system, they would march towards Terra, and Rogel Dawn would take his father's throne.
Alright, so the Mechanicus being neutral opens up a whole new ground. I really like what he did there. With the Mechanicus staying purely neutral, it opens up a whole new scenario where Rogel is going to have to fight Astartes to Astartes, and even the Emperor's not going to have access to the Titans. In any case, here we go again. Episode 30.
Vulcan and the Pyre Guard continued in their efforts to hunt down Conrad Kurz. The ship's crew had managed to isolate the Night Lord's Primarch in the main hangar bay, sealing the area shut with the emergency bulkheads. The problem was, the hangar airlocks to the bare void were locked tight and could not be opened. Something, or someone, had damaged the mechanism. Vulcan was left no choice.
We all know who.
Gathering his bodyguards, they would enter the hangar bay and gun the Night Haunter down.
Good luck with that.
Despite his brutal wave of killings upon the ship, Kurz was without his armour and without his weapons. As far as Primarchs go, it should be a relatively easy kill for veteran Astartes clad in tactical Terminator armour. As the bulkhead slowly raised, the salamanders entered the hangar. It was vast, filled with dozens of thunderhawks and stormbirds. The lights were bright, casting vast shadows throughout the room as the light shined over the multitude of dropships. Plenty of places to hide. Vulcan walked ahead first, brandishing his hammer, Dawnbringer. The hammer's energy field was already active, giving the head of the massive weapon an eerie blue glow. The pyre guard behind him held their weapons ready, aiming at the vast shadows, expecting the psychotic Night Haunter to spring up at any moment. Vulcan spoke, his deep, booming voice echoing throughout the hangar. He informed Kurz that he was trapped here, and once the airlock systems were repaired, he would be ejected into the icy void to die without dignity. But he could surrender himself, join their cause, and have all of his past crimes and atrocities forgiven.
Yeah, I don't think
Vulcan
he cares.
demanded a response from his brother, and waited. The lights suddenly cut out with a loud bang from overloading, glass raining from the ceiling like snow. The room became enshrouded in darkness, and screams and the sound of flesh being torn apart could be heard. When the emergency lighting kicked in, Vulcan turned around to see that all of his men had been butchered. He raised his hammer and took up a combat stance. His blood began to boil with anger, and demanded that if Kurz wished to kill him, then do it as a warrior, face to face, mano a mano, with honor like a real warrior should. Vulcan heard the sound of footsteps on metal and quickly spun around, ready to bring his massive warhammer to bear. Instead, he felt the intense burning pain of lightning claws piercing through his armor, into his hearts and lungs, the crackling energy surging through Vulcan's massive frame. His glowing red eyes gazed upon the sight of his brother. Conrad Kurz was wearing a patchwork of crudely beaten armor, made from the armor of the salamanders he had slaughtered. Vulcan let his hammer fall from his grip, impacting the deck with a loud clang of metal. Conrad Kurz smiled with his sick vampiric grin, and leaned in closer to his brother, whispering, "Father sends his regards." He pushed the lightning claws deeper into Vulcan's flesh, causing the Primarch to vomit up thick blood. Kurz then clenched his fist and ripped back, leaving a gaping hole in Vulcan's torso. He then eyed up one of the Thunderhawk gunships and softly laughed to himself. He unleashed a psychic blast at the airlock before boarding the Thunderhawk and opening fire with its weapon systems to force an opening for him to escape through. Vulcan's perpetual body began to slowly knit his wounds back together, but the last thing he would ever experience was a sudden rush of cold and the sensation of his body, along with every item not bolted down in the hangar, to be sucked out into the darkness of the void.
Who didn't see Conrad Kurz? Well, it ain't even a thing. In the lore, Conrad Kurz killed Vulcan God knows how many times. But now, Vulcan's body, if it were to ever be recovered in this timeline, would come back to life. But Vulcan now drifts in the void. And there is no coming back from that. Unless, of course, he gets found, kind of like Conrad Curse did when Sanguinius and the Lion pretty much booted him out of an airlock inside of a cryogenically frozen sleep in a pod. I don't know why they didn't kill him, but they didn't. And it is what it is in that regard. In any case, I can't wait to see. I was hoping to hear what Perturabo was going to do with the Men of Iron STC, but we'll have to see what happens later. For now, like and subscribe if you haven't already, of course, and we're going to move right along with this. Once this is over, that's when I'm going to start my own series, kind of echoing on top of this one. I'll catch you guys next time.